Greetings everybody and welcome to my round 7 matchup here. I'm going to be taking on Urbellum Xborg and we are opening up with Anubian Death. They ended up opening up with Nature, which did catch me a little bit by surprise, but I'm wondering if they're running the Void Hate Nature. This is a simple Anubian deck. We do Anubian things, and we've got the Priestess of the Cat and the Raving Necromancer. We're debating on the Curse of the Greed or not. I'm actually aiming for some more card draw on the mulligan, and do get Sulfuric Rain and Untold Greed, which both can serve that purpose. So ideally we can draw a lot of cards, draw all of our combo pieces, and then win by our minions simply dying. They get the early game Black Jaguar, which is indeed relatively annoying. We do draw Land of the Dead, one of the game finishing type of pieces in our list here. We can go face with the Priestess of the Cat and use the Untold Greed on the Raving Necromancer to cycle through 2 cards. Again, killing our own minions is a part of the name of the game when you play Anubians. Now our opponent here, they have a Black Jaguar, so they have a 50% chance of it doing what they want it to do. And of course it goes face, because the cats never listen. They never do. You want to train them, and then they just ignore you. We see the cat go face, which is ideal from my perspective. And now they rope here, probably debating on whether or not they should play a removal spell or not on the Priestess of the Cat, and instead they just play a Dagon. And we see now we have the opportunity to remove said Dagon from the board with Curse of the Greed. Go ahead and empower that so we can get some more Anubian ammo that potentially the Pharaoh's Heirloom combos very nicely with Sulfuric Rain as a tool for us to draw more cards. We are definitely missing some cards. Since I only have 1 minion on the board, Selena's Mark guaranteed to hit the Priestess of the Cat. They've got that in a Wild Hog, so they can do that very effectively. We're going to go ahead and play the Pharaoh's Heirloom and cycle the Sulfuric Rain as a card draw 2. Here I make a play mistake. I attack the Wild Hog. I should attack the Black Jaguar. That was definitely a play mistake right there. Because if I attack the Jaguar, it dies with the burn, and that's a 3/3 minion that regens, as opposed to the Wild Hog, which is a 2/3 that doesn't. So the Black Jaguar is a much more dangerous minion. That was just a careless mistake on my part. But we do draw Siren of the Grave, and we see that we have Ragnarok in hand. We have more card drawing with Burn Scarab, so we're going to try to get deeper into our list indeed. One thing we got to be somewhat careful of is there is a Valka's Discovery in the Sanctum, and we want to kind of get to the cycle of the Siren Grave and just the sleep permalock stuff. But if they're able to buy Valka's Discovery, then it is very awkward for us. We see them go face with the Jaguar and face with the Hog and the Jaguar, of course. Now they have 17 favor. Now they can actually purchase the Valka's Discovery if they want, but the Rune of Strength and the Rune of Fire is just naturally going to be very tempting for our opponent. And we see them go ahead and play Jersemi and get the regen on their minions. The Hog's going to die anyways, but the Jaguar is just going to regen back up to full, which is very annoying indeed. So what we're going to do here is we're going to Pharaoh's Heirloom, and we're going to use it to attack the Jaguar to get it down a little bit lower like it should have been before. Again, if I did the correct attack last turn, it would have died, and the Hog would have been near death. So I could have effectively attacked the Hog, which would have killed it, or just attacked Jersemi. Now here, Urbellum's got 20 favor, which is pretty good. They can purchase the Rune of Strength, which has to be extremely tempting for them, to buff up the Black Jaguar. By doing so, it actually will save the Black Jaguar from dying. They can also use the God Power and attack with Jersemi to make sure that the Jaguar doesn't take any sort of chip damage here this turn as well. So they go ahead and use the God Power there. And we draw a second Siren of the Grave. And we see the Chiron enter the battlefield, buffing the Jaguar. And now Urbellum has 14 favor after buying from the Sanctum. So this turn's relatively simple from my point of view. I have to get the Siren of the Graves going. And I have to be careful right now. Being at 15, if Urbellum can pick up 3 more favor, they can buy the Valka's Discovery and use the Valka's Discovery as a tool to wake up their minions. So here we've got to play Siren of the Grave. Since we're holding 2 Land of the Deads, the reach of the black really decreases in value as it's a somewhat more inconsistent card. So we're just going to go ahead and pitch that and use the Untold Greed to go ahead and draw a couple of cards. So I want to play a Burrowing Scarab here, but the problem is if I play it and then they kill it, they can immediately buy Valka's Discovery, and that's going to cause some issues for me. They play the Veil Warden, so indeed they continue wider here. We draw Ragnarok, and we have the option of playing Siren of the Grave or playing Canopic Hoarder. We can play Canopic Hoarder, put their stuff to sleep, draw 2, and play Ragnarok. That is one line. Or we can do various other things as well, such as Siren of the Grave, Burrowing Scarab, plus Ragnarok. The key here is I can't have a minion live this turn. I need to make sure all of my minions die. So we go ahead with the Canopic Hoarder line. I do like this line because we can go ahead and play Ragnarok, which ensures my minion dies and ensures they can't accumulate favor by messing with my minion. We draw the Skull Scepter, which can be a key card. And now with the Jaguar, the 6/4 Jaguar having burned 5, it is destined to die this turn unless they have a card like Trial of the Hydra, of which I will probably be able to play another Ragnarok to give it burn 8. And surely eventually we're going to be able to kill that cat. Surely. It feels like that we should be able to. We see Urbellum going to continue building upon their board, tossing out a Wildfire, tossing out a Wild Minion. That Jaguar, unfortunately for them, still has burned 5, so it will indeed burn out. So only 2 minions are going to survive, and one of them is the Veil Warden, which does have burn on it as well. We top deck Priestess of Takat, which is a useful card, but I'm still in a unique situation. The unique situation is that if I ever let them accumulate favor, then I'm in a tough spot. So what we're going to do here is we're going to play Siren of the Grave, and we've got options on what to pitch here, but the safest is just the Burrowing Scarab. We feel like we have the combo pieces in hand already to win this game, and we are going to go ahead, play the Priestess of Takat and the Vile Reaver, and just use Ragnarok to get those into the void. Again, if we attack with the Vile Reaver, our opponent can buy the Valka's Discovery, and there's lines where they might be able to achieve a lethal. We just want to make sure they can't get any favor. We see that we have Land of the Dead and Vile Reaver in hand. With our opponent at 15 and us having 2 Priestess of the Cats in the Void, we are effectively threatening lethal right now. So here our opponent notices that their Veil Warden is going to die. It does indeed have 6 burn and 5 health. So they either need to buff it or just let it go. And the Marshwalker actually has burn 3, but also has regen 3, so it will continue to be a 2/5 if they do nothing, and could possibly get even bigger if they do something about it. So here, they're going to the rope here, pretty frustrated probably from the turns of Endless Sleep. They do have the Briar for the Skull Scepter. Unfortunately for Urbellum, they are at 15, about to go up to 18, but our Land of the Dead is going to be deadly indeed. Just way too much void stuff here. We've got 2 Raving Necromancer, we got 2 Priestess of Takats in there, and a Raving Necromancer, and then just use the rest on Vile Reavers. We've got an extra Vile Reaver from hand, which helps with the math as well. So here we're just going ahead, making sure we're doing all of our clicks correctly. Every Vile Reaver that dies is 5 points of damage. We've got 3 Vile Reavers on the board and 1 in the hand, and we're going to be able to play the 1 in the hand. So our opponent starting at 18, the mathematics just work here. It doesn't matter which way I go as long as I don't kill the walking plant, I guess. The walking plant would be the wrong answer. But anyways, we're able to go ahead, clear the board, get the win in game number 1. Just like that. After winning game 1, we come into game number 2. We're queuing with Dralomar Magic, trying to counter what I perceive to be more of a wider control range from Urbellum. And we appear to guess right, as they're also playing Magic, and control Magic was something that Urbellum went 15 wins on weekend ranked. So a lot of times people coming off a loss will want to go with a deck that they're very comfortable with and very safe with and very confident with. And this is Urbellum's list, and we're playing the hard counter to said list. So this is a difficult situation for Urbellum, to say the least here. We're going to get our 4C here going, and just go ahead, put both on the bottom. We've got Librarian's Prayer, so we can cycle through 6 cards next turn. We already have a Clone and a Warp Engineer, so all we really need to do is find Dralomar. And our opponent's just going to go ahead and hit us with the Mage Bolt, so they don't have a great way to pressure us. We see the Warp Engineer, so we can Warp Engineer the Warp Engineer and clone it. All we need is Dralomar, and we've got our ducks in a row here. And we're going to go ahead, pip out the Librarian's Prayer, and see what we can get here. We see Dralomar, and nothing else really matters here. We're going to go ahead, and keeping the Crystal Tech is probably a mistake here, but definitely, yeah, just cycle towards Dralomar. We know next turn we can play Warp Engineer, and we can clone it if we would like. And we are set up very nicely. Our opponent is playing Control Magic. They're getting their ramp on, but we're at 29, and we already have Dralomar ready to go. So here we've got a Warp Engineer, and we want to Warp Engineer our Warp Engineer and effectively just clone that. That way we can go off whenever we get up to 6 mana, which will be very shortly here, because we do have the Crystal Tech indeed. And our opponent, they've got to pressure us here. They got us to 28, but that's not very far. And we draw the Magic Inks, which the Magic Inks is part of an infinite loop combo, but not necessarily a great card to have. Now, what we're lacking now is card draw. So we have no spells that draw cards. So even though we've got the 2/0 cost Warp Engineers in the Dralomar, we can't go off safely next turn. Safely being the key word. Our opponent plays Unannounced Arrival. What they're hoping to get is Odessa. They do not get Odessa. They get Shadewalker, which will help them apply some pressure, but it doesn't really do too much. We draw Blizzard Bolt, which again doesn't do too much for us either. We get the second Magic Inks and go ahead and Blizzard Bolt the minion. You could have argued using the God Power right there, and you could have argued using the Pip to God Power right there. And yeah, those are both legal things to argue about. What we don't have right now is card draw, and what we need is some card draw. If we get, actually, the crazy thing is if we draw Ether Snap, we can get lethal without card draw, which is pretty unique, I would have to say. Our opponent putting a lot of damage toward our face here. We do draw Cram. Cram is very useful, and what we can do here is we want to go off because our opponent is indeed threatening lethal. So the question is what order do we want to do things, and probably should lead with foreseeing. That would be ideal, but we're going to go ahead and make sure we get the Dralomar out there on the board, and we're going to go for it here. We're going to Cram first. Again, I think we should have GP'd since we've got the Pip, and we draw into Ether Snap, which is very, very fortunate. So I should have used the 4C God Power. I mean, I just assumed I would get one card draw, but you never know. If we don't get any, we fizzle out there. But we can guarantee cycling 2 down. But we draw into Ether Snap, so nothing matters once we do that. Here we simply just have to clear all of our spells out of our hand. That way the magic inks are guaranteed to copy each other, and we are able to clear out our hand very easily. And now it's just play infinite magic inks. And there's nothing that Urbellum can do in this situation. This game is just over. And yeah, we queued the hard counter. It felt like it was going to be super easy, but then it got a little bit sketchy there at the end where we didn't really have a lot of card draw. So we had to, I mean, eventually we crammed into the combo. We had all the combo pieces. Very good draw in terms of combo and ramp, but very suspect draw other than that. Maybe a potential mistake earlier in the game keeping the crystal tech when I probably didn't need to, because we already had the double warp engineer and clone. But we see the magic inks go off here, and ultimately there's nothing Urbellum can do in this situation. And they see the infinite loop and they go ahead and concede, and we win game number 2, advance to 5-2 in the tournament.